Hey guys, Larry here with L&M Homestead, and I am going to be starting to work on my gooseneck trailer. I need this trailer. I got to make a run to Wisconsin for some supply things and pick up a couple things, and I need my trailer. It is able to haul, it's all fine, it goes on the road great and everything, but the brakes are not good. So I'll show you what's happening with it. So this here I bought off a marketplace off of a guy. It is 36 foot long. It is a big gooseneck trailer, and it's pretty hefty too. I'll say that. Um, it is the main reason why I decided to do the power upgrade on the F350 is because I hauled the thing and it hauled it fine and everything, but taking off from stop signs and getting up to speed and stuff, it was a little bit of work. And I was like, man, if I load this thing up, it's going to be a lot of work. But then the day that I hauled it, then I had lots of problems that happened. And the IPR valve and everything blew on my truck. And I was like, well, now I got to fix it. And I was like, okay, more power, more power. Well, since then, I have gone to Menards and did a run over there. And I picked up all the concrete. And I put 12,000 pounds of concrete on this trailer. And came back with it. And oh my goodness, the power difference was awesome. It hauled it, not a problem whatsoever. But it does have a problem, the brakes. And when I bought this thing, it is a 2008 Load Max, 36 foot gooseneck. And that's supposed to be the information tag down there, but you can see it's all white. I have contacted the company. Load Max is actually owned by, it's a part of Load Trail. And I found that information out and I contacted the company and I have the serial, the VIN number and everything from it. Had the title, this trailer I have registered, it's got a plate on it and everything. And I contacted the company and said, hey, could I get a new sticker that's made? I don't know why they print these stickers and print them with ink and put them on here. Why they don't engrave them, I do not know. But they always do that on trailers like this and they fade over time sitting on the sun. And I contacted a company, said, could I just get a new sticker that has all the information on it and everything else? They said I'd have to go to a Load Trail dealer. And I looked and the closest Load Trail dealer was 2 hours and 40 minutes away. So I'm supposed to take this thing there so they can verify the thing so they can get a new sticker made. It was crazy. And I'm like, okay, I'll just have my own sticker made. But then the brakes, when I did buy it, the guy told me, he goes, I don't know what's up with the brakes. They don't hold. And he had his truck hooked up to it. And I crawled in right there and I had him push the brake button and everything. You can hear them hum. The brakes all hum and everything, but they do not hold back. So when I'm hauling this, I'm using only the brakes of the F350. And that's not safe. It's not safe for a bunch of weight and not safe for going on anything really. Especially wintertime coming. I have been looking around and I contacted Load and Trail and talked to them and I said, well, I need to replace the brakes. Can you give me the part numbers or give me, a link or something to all the parts and stuff that, I'll go into this. And they said, oh, you have to contact so-and-so with our division. That's where you get the parts from. And I'm like, well, can I just get a parts breakdown list of it? And they were like, no, you have to deal with them. So I went on their link to their parts division and looked it all up and everything. They don't make the brakes. They don't make the brake drums. They don't make the rims. They don't make all this stuff. They just make the frame. But all these things you can get by all the different companies, brakes and everything for this. And guess what? They're a lot more expensive than if I get it from somebody else. So that's a problem. And I have good working contact with eTrailer. I have did things with eTrailer. I've gotten a hitch, two hitches for that truck, another hitch for another vehicle, and I have found it a pleasure, and they are decent price, and they're super fast on shipping. So I contacted them, talked to them, and they said, yes, we definitely got set up, said we'll work and everything else. We need to know information. We need to know the bolt spacing and all this different stuff. So I have to pull off an axle. I did crawl underneath there, and there is a tag on the axle, and it does have the printing of it and everything else from the company the axles came from and stuff. So I have that information for them, but they need to have all that. So I am going to pull apart a set. I'm just going to do the left front here, and I hit my impact on it yesterday, and the nuts all came loose, all good and everything. So I'm going to jack the axle up, pull the tires off, and I think I'm going to take this one apart and see if I could see what's going on and why there's no brakes, because they do hum and they do work. I don't know if the brake pads are just completely shot or if it's the drums that are shot. So I kind of need to know what I'm working with before I order stuff. So that's what I'm doing. So, all right, guys, got the tires off of there. So this is a drum right here. This is your brake drum, and it's a solid one piece, so I believe it has to be taken off. You're gonna have to pull this apart and take the nuts off of here. I have to try to do this with it. There it goes. So that's the oil cap right there. Looks like it's got a really thick oil in there. So this here nut is gonna have to come off. Gonna have to figure out that size of it. And then there should be some bearings on the outside, a bearing on the inside and stuff. So I gotta find something here to, might be able to get it with this wrench. Go. I don't know if I can get that nut off of there. So I just got a pipe wrench in my truck. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Whoa, look at that. So it wasn't crazy tight. So we got a washer here. I can somehow get that out. There we go. Well, the brake drum should come off unless the brakes are embedded in it, which I think they are. Here's our bearing. Bearing looks pretty good. It does have some scratches. It's not bad though at all. I wouldn't be opposed to putting it back in. Let's see if we can wiggle. I think I'm going to be able to get it. I can feel the brake pads now. Wow, the brake pads look like great. I don't see a problem. The drums don't feel like they have a big groove in them. Well, guys, I've gotten it. It was 5 bolts on the backside. I got them pulled off. Come out. There we go. And so there is the brake. But I had to cut one. I had to cut one of the the studs. It's basically just like a wheel stud. It has a back piece on it that locks it in so it can't turn. Well, they're a little rusty and they decided to turn. I probably could get a new one, but the big question is, can this be taken apart? And if you're looking around, you can actually see snow. It was just snowing like crazy here a second ago. Just when I started recording this, it was really coming down. But yeah, I guess I could consider that the first snowstorm of the year. So this is just a plastic guard. I think that's the only problem with this thing. I think it's just so rusty. There is a nut here that's on the back side. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get that nut off. It's a very small nut, very small bolt that goes through there, and it's so rusty that I go to hit it, it's just gonna snap that. I think I'm gonna check to see how much new ones are. It's basically a whole assembly just like this. And I needed to take this one off because I need the spacing for this. And then I'm gonna take along the brake drum too. And they told me those are the things that I'm gonna need. So I'm going to take all this stuff back to the house, and I'm gonna call the company up and sit there on the phone with them and give them measurements and see what I can do. All right, guys. So I've been doing a lot of research on this brakes assemblies, and I believe that these are original. These are originally with this trailer. It's a 2006 trailer. But they actually have Alco stamped in there. And I have gotten them apart. They were rusted solid. Right here's more Alco part numbers and everything. And it took hammers and chisels and lots of heat and everything to get it all apart. And got everything apart. And I've cleaned everything up. I've sanded, wire wheeled it, and sanded down certain spots and everything, and then put a coat of paint on everything. These are the brake pads, and I resanded and I painted the parts that mesh with each other. Here's the problem. So I've looked online when I looked at doing it. When I bought this trailer, the guy said the brakes didn't work. And he had it hooked up to his truck, and I crawled underneath there and I said, could you hit the brakes for me? And he hit the brakes. And on electric brakes, when you press down on the brakes, you can hear like a buzzing noise coming from the brakes. And it did. It buzzed, and I was like, I don't know what the problem is. Maybe the brake pads are worn out, whatever. And so I was like, whatever, I'll do brakes. So I kind of looked it up a little bit, and it looked like 10-ton, 9 to 12-ton axle brakes were $100, $125, maybe up to $150 per set. And I was like, no big deal. I can put all new brakes in it and be all good to go. I contacted eTrailer, talked to them, and the problem is this right here, this plate. It has 5 bolts. And every one that I saw online had 7 bolts. And I called up eTrailer and talked to them about it. I had all the information. I had tags from the axles and everything. I had the VIN number from the trailer. I had all the measurements that they were looking for. And I got on the phone to talk to them about it. And I said, well, they're showing that I see in the pictures I see online, because they gave me a part number they said it would work. And I was looking online when I was talking to them, and I said, well, that one has 7 bolts, 7 mounting bolts. I said, mine only has 5, so is just 2 of your set not put in? And they're like, oh no, you got 5? And I'm like, yeah. And they said, that's an Alco axle. And I said, yes, I said it was an Alco axle. And they said, we have no brake parts for that. I was like, okay. So I looked at a different spot. I called them, talked to them. Nope, no Alco brake parts. So then I had talked to road trail, whatever. I had talked to them a long time ago, trying to get a new tag, trying to get parts and everything else. And they will only deal with, they won't give me any information. They just said, you have to call this person. So I called this guy. It's actually Load Trail. I called him, talked to him and everything, told him what I have and everything else. He's like, you got the 5 bolts? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, you got those old discontinued axles. Those are Alco. Alco went out of business and nobody has parts for those anymore. And I'm like, well, you manufactured a trailer. Shouldn't you have parts in stock? And they said, nope, we have no parts, nothing that'll work for you. The only thing we can do is we can sell you new axle sets. Okay, well, now you're looking at what, $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 for an axle? So like, that's crazy. And he's like, well, maybe you could find some on eBay or something, some used ones or something. And I started doing some research and I found some on eBay. And I did find a set that looks like they would match on eBay, and they were $4.99 for a left and a right. And I was like, okay, now you're $1,000 for these brakes. And I'm like, it's getting high, but okay. And then I talked to another company that I found, talked to them about it, and they said, nope, we don't carry any Alco stuff. And they said, try trailer4parts or something like that.com or something. And I looked up in there and it looked like they did have them. And I called them and talked to them and they said, yep, we carry Alco stuff. We do have the stuff. They had it. One set was a left hand or right hand set was $399 a piece. So it's $400. You got left and a right, that's $800. The other axle, $1,600. I looked at eBay and I sat there comparing them back and forth. The brake sets look identical, even the pictures look identical. And I was like, I guess I'll get them off eBay. But then I thought about, let's see what happens. So I tore this thing apart to see what's going to go on. The first thing I did is, electric brakes, they work with a magnet. It's electricity goes in a magnet and it energizes to the brake drum as it's spinning, and then that's what operates the brake pad to engage. The more voltage you put into it, then the more the magnet grabs and the tighter the brakes are applied. Pretty simple way to do it, to put it all in. So I went and I hooked up a car battery to the magnet and boom, it works. The magnet is working fine. I believe it was just brake pads that were just rusted tight. I think that the way that this trailer is, it's a 2006, but the frame is like perfect. I mean, it's really good. It has a little bit of surface rust, and I kind of plan on when I get a shop to kind of sandblast the thing and repaint it. But like 3/4 of the frame underneath is still got all paint on and nothing. It's good. I think they had this trailer sitting around for sale or something for a long time. It's parked out someplace. Nobody bought it. It sat there forever. Finally, somebody bought it, and they took it, and I think they used it. And I don't think they knew that the brakes were supposed to be there, that they weren't working. I don't think they realized it. And then they sold it to this guy, and he had it to this guy, and he knew the brakes weren't working. And he's like, I just don't haul anything heavy. You hauled hay bales with it once in a while. So he didn't really care about it. But I want to get it working properly. So I think this is actually original brakes that sat for a long time, got moisture in there, and they actually rusted really tight, and then they've never worked. Because I'll show you why. So this is the brake drum, and if you look in here, this brake drum has never seen the brakes applied. They've never gone through it. There's not it's perfect. There's no little ridges in it or nothing. So I don't think that they've ever the brakes have actually ever worked on this thing. This is a one part right here. This is all it's actually called an armature plate. And it has screws that go all the way around. It goes into the brake drum, and it's a flat disc, and that magnet, it travels on this. And as the wheel is turning around and around, and then as you apply the brakes in a car, that puts power back to that magnet, and then the magnet is spring loaded, and then the magnet gets power, it sucks up against this, which then pulls that magnet, which applies the brakes. And the more current you put through it, the magnet is stronger, grabs more, and pulls harder on the brake pads. Pretty simplistic. So I've cleaned this all up. You can kind of see where that magnet has been going around. There's no gouges or nothing else. I think it'll be okay. I can get those, I get new ones of those, but I think it's gonna be okay. So I got this all cleaned up and everything else, and I am going to put this brake assembly back together and use anti-seize on all the spots where the pivot points and all that all is, and put this all back together and then go back out to the trailer and put it back on there and see if it'll work. Well, there we go, guys. It's all put back together. And see, this is the magnet here, and it's spring loaded. So it has a spring behind it, it pushes. And basically what it does is it rides on the inside of that drum as the drum is turning. It just rides on that armature. It's a flat metal surface. And I think it's gonna be good enough. But the magnet does work, so as it's spinning and you have your wires hooked up on the back, and as you push the brakes on your car, there's a brake controller in my truck that puts a signal out to this thing and gives it so much, I don't know if it's voltage or amperage, I'm not really sure on that, but it puts a certain current out to this, and as it does that, then this attracts to your spinning drum, and when it's spinning, then what it does is it pulls on it and it applies the brakes. So as you can see there. So if it's going that way, if it's going this way, see, now everything is working freely. So I think it's gonna work. So I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. So I have the thing adjusted all the way down, and the next step is gonna be to go put it into the trailer and put it all back together, and then adjust it so it just has a, you know, the tiniest bit of drag with the brake pads, and then apply power to it through the brakes connected to the trailer. Apply the power to the brakes and see if it stops the drum. If it does, then I just got to do 3 more of these. I got to tear them all apart, clean them all up, and go from there. Save myself $1,000. Well, guys, my camera died. I didn't realize it, but I was messing around with it and I could not get it to work. The brakes were not engaged. I could hear humming underneath here, but I couldn't hear humming from here. And I'm like, I know I've checked everything. And I got out my electrical tester, went and checked out all the wiring all the way back here and stuff. Everything was testing good all the way back here. Everything was working. I came back, test the wiring back here, and I crawled underneath there. I forgot to tighten up the nuts on the wires. So I kind of just turned them tight, and all of a sudden, they hummed. And they worked. So you can see here now, see the drum is, you know, free turning and everything. And now I'll go apply the brakes. So now you can see, you can hear maybe, I don't know if you can hear, but the humming. But it's humming now. And so now if I turn the brake drum, it turns a little bit and then it grabs and you can't turn anymore. What it is that magnet in there. So as you turn it, the magnet grabs that inner accumulator in here, that shield. It grabs that and then it pushes over and pushes the brake pad out against the drum, and that's what grabs it. It's kind of weird. It only uses one brake drum or one brake pad because it pushes against it and it only pushes out one. And then then if I go in reverse, it'll actually free it up, but then as you go back, then it grabs the other brake pad. It's kind of weird. I don't know if that's the greatest braking system or not, because you'd think you'd want both brake pads to spread equally to put pressure on both sides. But it only puts it on one side. And see, it grabs that way, and then it grabs that way. The brakes are not meant to actually stop the vehicle on this. The brakes are meant to assist on the towing vehicle's brakes. They're not set up that they actually stop. But it's working. So we're gonna save some money. So I've already started tearing apart the other side. I just got a couple bolts on the brake pad assembly, and then I can pull it out. I didn't want to disconnect the wires and stuff, and they'd be touching and shorting out fuses and stuff. And I've had my camera charging, so I figured it'd be a good time to take that apart. But I'm gonna go shut this all down and everything else, and take the other thing off. Go home, rebuild that one. See if I can get out here yet today, and get that side put on. Then I can put the tires all back on and everything else. Get those all back on, and then I just got to do the back axle. But they are working, and I can hear this one right here is humming. They're probably all humming. I can hear. I'm sitting right next to it. So yeah, looks like I'm gonna save $1,000. That'd be good. Well, guys, This is the UP. November 10th, 2025. Doggone got snow going on. I'm out here working on my trailer, doing the brakes today, but I've been waiting to burn this. I got about another pile about this size that needs to be burned of all junk wood and everything. So me and the wife, we spent the day this weekend and kind of cleaned out the basement and one of the rooms and everything, and just took a bunch of that stuff to the junk, to the dump and everything. And we got a whole bunch of mail that everybody sends us, has their names and account information and stuff and everything, so we usually shred it, but I said, hey, we'll just burn it the same way. So I'm gonna burn up this pile today. Bring the marshmallows. He's going. Well, this pile has burned down pretty dang quick. It was some dry wood. I did push up there was a couple bigger sticks. I pushed those up on top of there and stuff, but I'm about to get back in the backhoe here and kind of roll the pile over again. Set some pretty good flames for a little bit there, but it's pretty good under control. All right, guys, we are good to go now. I have finally gotten this axle done. I have the brakes hooked up. I have them applied. I have the brakes, so they're set. And I have replaced all the wiring in here. But now we got brakes locked up. That's reverse. And that's forward. And what I've done is somebody has gone on here. I think it was the guy before me. And these are the brake wires right here, this blue and white wire, and they had them going off of here, kind of zip tied around there with this red line. You can see it laying on. There's a huge bundle of it down there, and it went down to the axle, had some wire nuts with a piece splitting over to that axle, wire nuts, a piece coming over to here. Then there was another cut and the one coming over here that had a piece going back there. That one was cut again, wire nuts going over to there. And then another piece of wire on the other side cut, not on the connections of the brakes, which I don't understand, but they put a wire nut, cut the wire, put the wire nuts, and then fed a wire over this. It was just zig, 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 zig all over. And there was like probably 8 connections that were all wire nutted together. And I put this side together and it worked great. But then when I did the other side over there, it didn't work. And I started testing it and there was no power, and I looked at the wiring right there and I went, okay, I have got to replace all of this. I want to make sure, peace of mind. So now this side is all done. There's reverse, there's backwards. So you can see some of the wiring. This is the big wasp nest of wiring, and you can see all electrical tape bundles, and it's just crazy. And then beyond that, there's another wire. It's right here. This wire goes all the way along the frame, goes up to the front, and this is also connected to the brakes. And they had it connected to in the wiring harness over here on this side. So they had 2 power supplies going to it. I think it was because it wasn't working over here, so they ran another wire and hooked that up, and I don't know. All it was is the brake pads are just rusted together. That's why they weren't working. You can't make the brakes work if they're rusted tight. So everything's working, everything is adjusted. I have just a little bit of pressure when you spin the drum. You can just hear the brakes touching on there. Have both sides evenly done. So now you get to put these tires back on and jack up the back axle and pull those hubs off, pull those brakes apart, and head to the house where it's warm in the garage and clean all those up for the rest of the day, get those all cleaned up. Then I just got to put it back together. I think that this tire is low. Yeah, it is. That tire is a little bit low, the outside right rear tire. it's a little soft. So I'm probably gonna pull that tire, take it with me, take it to the tire shop since I'm gonna have it off anyways. Drop it off there, see if they can find a nail in it or something, or valve stem leaking or something. Might as well do it while I got it off. But yeah, what I thought was just gonna be a simple thing is kind of turned into a big job. But hey, now I know I got great working brakes. Everything is good. So pile is burning down there. It's gone down a lot. It's just kind of smoldering away and stuff. Every once in a while I take the backhoe and kind of flip the branches up on top of all the hot coals and just let it sit there and burn up. All right, I'm gonna turn my brakes off and put these tires all back on and take apart the rear ones. Well guys, I am working on the last brake, and of course the last one's got to be the hardest. Most of them, because the brake pads are rusty and everything, and they sit up inside here. There's like a round pin that's behind this plate here. It pinches it kind of in there, keeps it in, and that's where they've been rusting real bad and getting stuck. Well, the last one I did, this here, this little square piece right here, this is a pivot point. And how it works is that this sits on here, and then the electric brake is on there, and then it moves it back and forth. Well, see, it's moving now, but it didn't move at all on this one. And the last one was hardly nothing. And the reason why it's moving is because this pin has a nut on the backside that keeps loosening. But this block is supposed to freely spin on here, and it is locked up tight. So I got to get this block off. There's a washer that goes over this and a clip that holds it on there. But that is completely rusted up. And the one last night I was able to get with this little torch, I was able to heat it up enough and able to pound it back and forth, got it loose. But this one is not getting. So I got to run out to the land and get a bigger torch and heat this piece up red hot so I can get this thing off of there and then clean it all up. But working on the last one. I got number 3 sitting over here on the ground, all ready to go, all painted up, ready and lubricated, ready to go. And then this will be number 4. So I gotta make a run out there and go get the bigger torch. Well guys, I got the back axle all done, all wired up. I can hear them all humming. There it is, brakes applied. I still don't understand the whole aspect of only one brake pad catching. How electric magnet goes, it pushes one brake pad over. I just don't understand why it doesn't. Maybe why these axles are discontinued. This one, there it goes. Perfect. So now I can mount the tires back on. I do have to run home quick, going out to lunch with the wife. So I'm gonna run home and go do that. We got another appointment we gotta be at, and then we're gonna do lunch, and then I'll be back out, mount the tires, and I'm also gonna stop and get a new board for that. Before I leave here, I'm gonna take this measurement and get myself a 2x6 put down in here that I can that'll fix this bed right up. And then I just gotta put the tires back on and torque everything up, and we're good to go. Well guys, she's done. She's all completed. I am going to get another rim and then get an extra tire mounted on it, so it's all ready. And I think I'm going to put it right in here, that little space there in between where that screen is. I think I might mount the tire someplace in here. I'm going to mount the tire. I don't know, I may keep that for like a battery, because I have a winch, and I may put the winch on it just in case something's broke down or something. But so I may do that instead. But I don't know. I'm gonna get a spare tire put on here and stuff. Have a tree underneath there. I got the new deck board put in. That's nice. The one that I was in there. Now one spot was just rotten. All the rest are pretty decent. They're soft and stuff, but they're not broken or anything. When I went and got that load of concrete with all those pallets, I put a tarp over it, and then I put some 2x4s over it, and then I put screws down into the decking to hold the tarp down tight. And some of the screws, they would just spin in there. So they're not the greatest deck board, but it's fine. Eventually, I think when I get my shop and everything, and I get the sandblasting booth set up, I may pull all the decking off, pull all the wiring out of this thing, and sandblast it all. And there's hardly any rust on it now, but it's a good time now to hit it, and so that it's good for many, many years, you know, instead of waiting for things to really start rusting. But everything is all good. All the tires are on. They're all torqued. It was a lot of torquing. 275 foot-pounds. 32 times. Felt like I was torquing a head down on a Detroit or something. But got it all torqued down. Got them all torqued down. I've just gone back through and checked all the oil and got them back up to the full mark again. And but the oil is pretty thick, and so I'm kind of thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up the truck to it, go for a cruise, and I'm going to go fill up on diesel. So it's like 35 miles down the road, and I'll get down there and pull in the fuel. I'll check all the hubs again and see where the levels are, and I have an extra jug of oil, and I can top them off to get them where they need to be. This side's all done also. All the brakes are working now. That's awesome. So this trailer is ready to go. All the lights are working. I've checked all the lights and everything. There is one little red clearance light in the middle that is missing. I have to stop and get into one of those. The plug is all good. I did check it, the wiring, and the plug has good power. It's just the light popped out. But that is the mangle mess of all the different connections. You can see all the black tape spots on it and stuff. That's where the wires were tied together, and then wire nuts and stuff. It was just a mess. So now that is all taken out of there, and it's all nice and clean wiring right there. I am not sure what these racks are for underneath the bottom. Maybe somebody knows. They can throw it down in the comments or something. I don't know. If there were a wider space, I could say maybe pallets. You could, you know, put pallets up underneath there, and it would have to be thicker opening. I don't know. It looks to be probably maybe 3 to 4 inches thick, but they're only like maybe a 2 foot span, 1.5 to 2 foot span in between each one of those I-beams. So I'm not really sure if there's some that you could, like ramps, or I don't know. I can't figure it out. What would go underneath there, what you could put underneath there to, or if it's just for strength. I don't know. You know, who knows? That could be what it is too. All right, so we are all fixed up.